Ephesus, one of the most fascinating cities in the ancient world, was established around 1000 BC by the legendary Greek princess Androclus, who cited it as directed by the oracle at a place indicated by both fish and wild boar. Under the Romans, it became the most important trading port on the Aegean, with its population of 250,000, probably ranking only behind Rome, Alexandria, and possibly Antioch. Its trade with Anatolia and its connection with the Silk Road were enhanced by its position as a center of worship to the mother goddess Artemis, daughter of Zeus and sister of Apollo. Ephesus was a primary focus for Paul as he planned his missionary work, but interestingly, he took his time getting there, going via Thessaloniki, Corinth, and Athens first. Perhaps he wanted to hone his missionary skills and gain experience in some of the other larger communities before he would be ready to tackle what was the Greek and Roman capital city and most important trading port on the Anatolian mainland, and with a sizable Jewish community of perhaps 25,000. Additionally, the business of Artemis worship incensed Paul with consequences we shall see shortly. Paul briefly visited Ephesus on his way to Syria during his second missionary journey, but his work in Ephesus began in earnest in AD 52, when, during his third missionary journey, he stayed in Ephesus for 3 years, albeit with some breaks during that time. He would, as always, have started his work preaching to the Jewish community in the synagogue, whose whereabouts are still unknown. As a Pharisee, he could speak in their terms and present his new message very powerfully. After 3 months teaching in the synagogue, he moved to the Hall of Tyrannus, another place whose location is unknown, probably because he was unwelcome at the synagogue. He seems to have had significant success, and indeed Ephesus continued on as a strong Christian community after his departure. It appears that some of the Jewish elders and leaders were persuaded by him, and through dint of many miracles, many pagans were persuaded to give up their beliefs as well as their valuable pagan treasures. As might be expected, in that success he made many powerful enemies. As always, the Jewish leadership became embittered because he threatened their control, and, of course, they were always concerned about how the Roman authorities might react to what they considered as just another group of Jews. And they were very unhappy that Paul's success also meant that donations from new believers would now go to the small Christian community, not to the synagogue as usual. In Ephesus, it was the silversmiths who enjoyed a very prosperous business selling silver shrines of Artemis that brought the matter to a head. Paul preached vigorously against those pagan practices, and eventually the silversmiths began chanting, "Great is Artemis of the Ephesians," causing a riot that culminated in angry crowds gathering in the grand theater, dragging 2 of Paul's friends, Gaius and Aristarchus, with them and manhandling them. Paul wanted to go into the theater, but his friends dissuaded him, evidently fearing that he would be badly hurt or even killed. Separate from this incident, there are suggestions that Paul may have been imprisoned sometime in Ephesus in a small building near the harbor, but that has never been verified with historical facts. At all events, the riot in the Grand Theatre persuaded Paul to depart Ephesus for Macedonia, from which he never returned to Ephesus, although he did meet Christian elders in Miletus, near Ephesus, at the end of his third and final missionary journey. Ephesus eventually declined in importance for a number of reasons, not least because continual silting of the harbor by the Cayster River was a problem that eventually overcame all attempts at dredging to keep it clear. Since those times, silting has resulted in Ephesus being around 6 kilometers from the Aegean Sea. On top of that, the Goths invaded in AD 262 and destroyed the temple of Artemis, and so its trade dried up, and then paganism gave way to Christianity. Ephesus was the location for the church's third ecumenical council in AD 431, at which the Patriarch of Constantinople, Nestorius, was condemned for his views that the divine and human natures of Christ were separate, and so Mary was the mother of only the human nature of Jesus.